Now, I'm going to talk about eco-friendly credit cards, but before I do, I want to acknowledge the big elephant in the room, which is that the entire premise of an eco-friendly credit card is a little bit confusing. First off, many of these cards that promise to be environmentally friendly are issued by big banks that also are known to invest in fossil fuels. Then there's the entire premise of a credit card, which encourages consumption. If you're using your credit card to consume things that are new, then that means that you're contributing to the idea of manufacturing, that item being transported to you. It just didn't arrive on your doorstep. The item was shipped, and it was shipped in packaging. Don't even get me started on all those little plastic baggies and bubble wraps and cardboard containers, how those contribute to your environmental footprint. Then credit cards encourage rewards, and many of those rewards aren't exactly environmentally friendly. I think the most common credit card reward people think of is airline miles, and I don't think there is any sort of environmental expert who would say that flying on an airplane is exactly good for the environment. So you get the idea. There is a little bit of some skew when it comes to talking about environmentally friendly credit cards. And I could go on and on for minutes about this, but my editors have put me on a timer. So I want to focus on the benefits of environmentally friendly credit cards, what they tout, and I want to dig into whether they actually deliver on their promises of being environmentally friendly. Let's start by talking about the materials that your credit card is made of. Your credit card is a physical item, and many of them are made of plastic. Luckily, there's a noticeable push to move away from first-use plastics in credit cards and towards plastic that previously served some other purpose, like recycled PVC. That's short for polyvinyl chloride, the difficult-to-recycle material that cards are traditionally made from. Others are made from plastics recovered from oceans. Look, any plastic use, even if it's recycled, is going to be inherently problematic. Most plastics can only be recycled about 2 or 3 times, so eventually that plastic credit card is going to make its way to the landfill in some form or another. Now, another type of credit card you might see is a metal credit card. Metal credit cards are pretty common in those really high-end premium credit cards, you know, the ones with annual fees in the many hundreds of dollar range. The cards seem to be a status symbol when they're made of metal. I think it's because you can plunk it down on the counter when you buy your super expensive item. It has that ring. Psychologically, you just feel so fancy plunking down a metal card. It feels heavy in your wallet. It feels expensive. And there is another benefit to metal credit cards, and that is that many experts say metal credit cards are actually better for the environment than even recycled plastic credit cards. That's because many experts believe that metal is easier to recycle than even recycled plastics. So you have your plastic, you have your metal credit cards, but many of these credit cards these days have a little chip inside of them. Now, chips aren't all bad. They've largely become a replacement to the credit cards that you used to swipe. Many experts believe that chip credit cards are more secure. They're harder to steal your data from than those swiping credit cards. So that's all good, but the challenge is that those chips, the products they're made of, are really difficult to recycle. So even if you have a metal or plastic credit card, it could be problematic if there is a chip inside. So what's one solution? I haven't seen it yet, but I think we're pretty close, and that is digital-only credit cards. So many of us these days use Apple or Google Pay. So you have a physical credit card, but you've loaded that information into your smartphone, maybe your Apple Watch, and you can actually pay at checkout with a digital device. You never even have to have the physical card with you. I absolutely love Apple Pay. Whenever I'm going to the grocery store, I don't even take my wallet with me. I just simply am at the Trader Joe's checkout line and I sort of hover my iPhone over the cash register and I'm able to check out. It's really easy. It's really seamless, and I don't need any physical products with me. My credit card is in a drawer back at home. Now here lies the challenge. Is my credit card still exists? Ultimately, that is a piece of plastic that I'm going to have to recycle when my credit card expires or I decide to close the card. So here comes my sort of wish for credit card companies, is that as more credit card companies realize that people are transitioning to digital-only payments, they might give you the option upon approval to actually opt out of getting that physical card delivered. If I'm really only using that card at grocery stores and my grocery store offers a digital payment option, then I'll never need that credit card at all. I might have one physical credit card with me in case of emergencies, but I'm one of those people who has 20 credit cards and I really only need one physical one. Speaking of physical materials, I also want to talk about bank statements. If you've ever received a bank statement in the mail, it's going to be a lot of pieces of paper, and if your bank statements look anything like mine do, that could amount to maybe a small forest. Now, luckily, many banks these days allow you to opt out of getting paper statements, and you can get them delivered electronically. I highly recommend that you do this, and most major banks these days offer this as an option. If your bank doesn't let you opt into paper statements, I would definitely call and ask them to offer this as a change. It's a really, really easy way that you can help the environment, and it's also a win for the bank. They don't need to have someone to print out those statements, to fold them into an envelope, and they save money on shipping costs so those statements aren't delivered to you. Hopefully, they might pass on those cost savings to you as well. Now, we've talked about physical things. I want to talk about more of the mental things, and one of those is charitable donations. A lot of banks these days are making pledges to donate to environmental causes. Sometimes it's tied to your spending, so they might say for every dollar you spend, they are going to donate a small percentage of that to helping clean up the oceans. I saw a bank that was promising for every time you swipe the card, they would plant a tree. Now, that's all good. I definitely love that. I'm in favor of banks planting trees, but I do want you to be aware of a term you might have heard of. It's called greenwashing. This is the idea that a big business might promise something to make it sound better than it really is. You know, that bank might already be donating to charitable causes to begin with, or maybe that charitable cause just looks better than it actually is on paper. You know, if you think about something like spending goes towards planting a tree, well, keep in mind that you did spend. You might have bought a physical product, and that product needed to be made, shipped, packaged. So even though we planted a tree out of it, I don't want you to automatically assume that your purchase was great for the environment just because it planted a tree. It's always awesome when big businesses pledge to help the environment, but I do want you to approach these ideas with a healthy dose of skepticism. In that same vein of donating to charitable causes, I also want to talk about carbon offsets. Carbon offsets are increasingly common, especially in the airline industry. And as you know, many airlines offer their own credit cards, and many credit card benefits actually are increasingly being tied to the idea of carbon offsets. Carbon offsets basically mean that whenever you do something, you can make some sort of donation or pay to a company, and that amount of money will help the environment in a way that sort of offsets the purchase or the act you did, such as flying on an airline. Now, carbon offsets, again, are all good, and it's definitely great for you to donate your money to environmental causes. That said, I don't want you to automatically think that the airline flight you took for free on your credit card miles is automatically negated just because you donated money to another environmental cause. Of course, you might have to take that airline flight anyway, so just keep in mind the holistic benefit that it has on the environment. Now let's talk about credit card rewards. Many credit cards offer rewards for spending in certain categories, something like groceries, restaurants, gas. Now, as you can guess, offering bonus rewards for gas spending doesn't exactly promise to help the environment. Luckily, many big banks are catching on, and they're starting to offer credit cards that offer rewards, maybe not for gas, or in addition to gas, they offer rewards for something possibly better, and that is electric vehicle charging. In fact, this year, US Bank announced that they would match the same rewards rate that your credit card earns on gas. It would also match that and give you rewards when you do electric vehicle charging. Sam's Club this year also announced that the 5% back it offers on gas stations, it would also match an offer for electrical vehicle charging up to a cap. I really love this because if you're someone who's considering making the switch to purchasing an electric vehicle, this might be something that sets you over the edge and encourages you to make that purchase. You might be thinking, you know, gas is so expensive, but I get these credit card rewards, and then an electric vehicle is gonna get expensive as well, but this is sort of a way to lessen the blow on that. Now, there is another type of credit card reward that has existed for a long time, and this is travel rewards. Check your bank's terms and conditions because many credit cards offer bonus rewards on hotels and airlines, but many cards that offer rewards on travel also offer rewards for travel types that are environmentally friendly. I'm talking things like buses, trains, and ferries. Maybe you take your car to work every day and you're seeing gas prices are going up, and maybe it's time that you take the bus or the train instead. Check your credit card because you could actually earn bonus travel rewards for your train spending. I'm thinking about the environment a lot lately, and it can certainly feel like there's so much to be done and I'm just one individual, what can I do? But I also firmly believe that every tiny action I do has some sort of impact, and even a tiny impact is better than none. So when it comes to your credit cards, what can you do to have an impact? My first piece of advice would be to go right now and opt to get those paperless statements. This is such an easy thing to do, and honestly, you're not gonna fill up your trash can with all those paper statements that you're probably not reading anyway. I also believe that the strongest vote is your dollar, and your dollars can be used to spend on your digital wallet rather than a physical card. If you use a digital wallet every time you pay, that's a good way to tell the banks, hey, I like this digital form, I don't really want a physical card, and maybe banks will stop sending out those physical cards. Then there's the charitable donations or the carbon offsets. These are certainly better than nothing, but I do go into these with a healthy dose of skepticism. The thing that I am most excited about, though, is electric vehicle charging rewards. Now, I will admit that I'm biased. I live in a city, I don't even own a car, so I'm really not that excited about gas rewards to begin with. But you can bet if I ever do purchase a car, it'll most likely be an electric one. And when I do, I will also be applying for a credit card that offers electric vehicle charging rewards. I'm Sally French, a travel and credit cards writer for NerdWallet. I live in San Francisco, where a lot of people think the best public transit is the cable car, but it's actually the ferry. They drive you all around the bay in a boat. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe.